This episode is brought to you by Imagine Strength, your go-to for safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training equipment. Growing a successful high-intensity training business requires workout equipment that's not only high quality, but also intelligently designed to fit the unique needs of your studio. And that's where Imagine Strength comes in. Drawing on the wisdom of the legendary Arthur Jones, Imagine Strength has crafted a groundbreaking line of fitness equipment that's as affordable as it is efficient, giving your studio the upgrade it needs without breaking the bank. The team at Imagine Strength breathes HIIT. Their passion for high-intensity training shines through in their designs, which they've consistently refined and innovated for optimum effectiveness and user experience. From my personal experience at Rec, I can attest to the careful consideration and craftsmanship that goes into every single piece. My Imagine Strength workout was absolutely brutal, in a good way, of course. Now, what makes Imagine Strength truly stand out? They have innovative equipment tailored for the unique needs of HIIT studios, affordable and efficient designs, lowering the barriers to entry for a HIIT business, continuous innovation and refinement ensuring your studio stays ahead of the curve. Founder Jeff Turner and his team are dedicated to moving the HIIT industry forward and making strength training accessible to more people than ever before. Here's how you get started. Number 1, visit imaginestrength.com. Number 2, discuss your specific needs with the team. And number 3, select the equipment that will propel your business to the next level. Head to imaginestrength.com today and give your HIIT business the Imagine Strength edge. Be part of the HIIT revolution and see firsthand how their unique equipment can transform your studio's workout experience. Elevate your HIIT business with Imagine Strength. Today's episode is sponsored by Joint Friendly Fitness by Bill DeSimone. Having observed Bill's dedication in creating this book and hearing its acclaim in the fitness community, I eagerly dived into my copy. The book has innovated our approach at Optima Strength and refined my personal workouts, emphasizing safety and effectiveness. For those grappling with training pains, injuries, or concerns about joint health, this book offers solutions. Bill's blend of personal experience and biomechanics expertise birthed the joint-friendly fitness approach. Esteemed experts like Dr. Ellington Darden call it the best book on the biomechanics of strength training, while Dr. Doug McGuff labels it a masterpiece, praising its clarity and valuable exercise visuals. Move past the sea of complex fitness books. Joint Friendly Fitness is both engaging and actionable, categorizing exercises by safety. Dive into its wealth of exercises backed by the 5-star Joint Friendly rating system. Elevate your fitness with Joint Friendly Fitness, available on Amazon worldwide. Lawrence Still here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for elevating your HIIT business and fueling your passion for high-intensity training. This is episode 428, and today Luke Carlson and I are going to be talking about how to incorporate, or whether you even should incorporate, a high-intensity training service into a pre-existing health and wellness business. So I get, emails or contact every now and again from all sorts of different businesses in fitness, whether it's biohacking sort of facilities that use things like float tanks and infrared sauna who want to add some kind of HIIT service, physiotherapists, chiropractors, health clubs, physicians, etc., reaching out to me to see how they should go about implementing or incorporating a HIIT service into their business. So I couldn't think of anyone better to discuss this with than one and only Luke Carlson, CEO and founder of Discover Strength. For those that don't know, Discover Strength is a Minnesota-based strength training studio built on the principle that busy people don't have time to waste on exercise that doesn't work. Discover Strength delivers 30-minute strength workouts twice per week with exercise physiologists. They help their clients look and feel their best in a fraction of time. Discover Strength has over 30 locations open or in development in Minnesota, Arizona, Wisconsin, Utah, Texas, Florida, Illinois, Colorado, Massachusetts, and Washington, D.C. Luke, welcome back to the podcast. Great to see you again.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Lawrence.
You're very welcome. And so for those, I guess, who are tuning in to this episode for the first time, if you've been paying attention to the scientific literature and the changing fitness trends, you'll have noticed that strength training continues to grow in popularity and in both perceived and real value. It's a great business and genuinely transforms people's lives. So no wonder why it's gathering interest from all types of health and wellness businesses. So I speak with a lot of business owners, as I alluded to earlier, who are already maybe they're already physiotherapists or chiropractors or fill in the blank. They've fallen in love with strength training and more specifically high intensity training. And they have come to understand the massive therapeutic and health benefits. And in some cases, they accept that some or a lot of what they do might be a bit redundant and HIT can supplant it quite nicely. And in most cases, they see HIT as an adjunct, though, and not to replace what they do. But I think that might be quite problematic from a kind of a branding and business perspective. So I'm excited to get into this today with you, Luke. And I guess, I think this is it's obviously can be quite problematic. And I'd love to just start off by asking, how do you think about this kind of stuff? And you must also talk to people in other businesses who want to incorporate HIT.
Yeah. So do I think it's a strategic error to incorporate some high intensity strength training into another type of wellness business? It's okay. So my first answer is it's not what I would do because I'm really into the idea of focus on one thing. Just put one egg in one basket and then watch that basket. That's the idea of strategic niche, the idea of being known for just one thing. That's how I like to approach a business. All of that being said, I do think you could generate significant revenue and really provide value for a target market of customers that would benefit from high intensity training. I think the space needed, the equipment costs involved make high intensity training really viable in a lot of different retail businesses or businesses that have retail space. So I do think it can be an appropriate adjunct. It's not the way that I would want to move forward, but forget what I want to do. I think we should focus on is how could you do it? And I think there's a lot of ways you could do it. And I'm excited to talk about what that could look like.
Interesting. Okay. Not sure if I expected that as an answer. So I guess then what I would hope we could do today, Luke, and the time we have together is maybe come up with some kind of checklist for those who are running a different type of health and wellness business who want to plug in HIT, maybe give themselves a checklist or a series of questions they can go through to figure out whether it is an ideal for them to do that, and how exactly they go about doing it if it is. I don't know whether it would be best to start with maybe a case study. Maybe we can we can come up with a scenario, should I say. So like we could assume that maybe I don't know, does anyone come to mind for you? Like a typical business where this is happening, maybe like a physiotherapist is quite fairly common.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interest. That's the exact example I was going to come up with. I did
Okay.
a free introductory workout with a gentleman last night, and I rarely do free introductory workouts. I mean, I was out of practice. It's been a long time, but he got connected to me from another client, and he owns the restaurant that's in the corporate office building that where our corporate office is. And we also have a studio, and he owns a number of different restaurants, and I think I'm the single biggest customer of his restaurant because I eat there regularly. I take everybody there for work lunches and work dinners. And so um, I think he basically had to close as a client because as a great customer of his, he probably wanted to become a customer of Discover Strength as well. Well, he owns a lot of different businesses. And one of the businesses that I found out that he owns is a physical therapy clinic. And we're like 3 exercises into his introductory workout. And he's starting to talk about, I would want to put a business like this in my physical therapy clinic. And he's like, can we put a Discover Strength in my physical therapy clinic? Well, our answer to that, of course, is no. But could you do it? Could you put a really awesome high intensity strength training business inside of a physical therapy offering? 100% yes. So let's use that as our example. I love
Let's
it.
do it.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, my first starting point is some type of framework or slowing down and asking the question, how bought in are you to high intensity training? So I think we have to make sure that this isn't a fad for the owner or the operator, in terms of, hey, I'm interested in this from a fitness standpoint now, or I have 400 square feet and I'd love to monetize the 400 square feet. So I'm willing to do basically anything. It's going to be high intensity training, this quarter or this year. Next quarter, it might be a recovery center where we have Normatec boots and we have Theraguns and we have, like one of those hydro beds that you lay on. And then the next year, it's going to be something totally different. It's going to be a smoothie bar. So how convicted are you into high intensity training? And I think the best way to think about that is landing. I have this opinion, Lawrence, that that the further people get away from the roots of high intensity training, they start to stray. So you'll meet somebody 10 years ago who's all about high intensity training, and then you meet them, this year, and you're like, what? When I knew you 10 years ago, you were doing perfect reps to momentary muscle failure, limited volume. It was straight out of, a Doug McGuff, Ellington Darden, Wayne Westcott book. It was awesome. And now it's like unrecognizable. And why do they stray from high intensity training? Yeah, that's probably a totally different podcast. But I think you have to ascertain, how committed are we? How convicted are we into sticking with a high intensity training protocol? And for me, that conviction has to start with the idea that strength training is good for us. Okay. So no matter what, we should be strength training. And sometimes when I look at Discover Strength, I think, well, that's the starting point. We need to be resistance training. And sometimes I mistakenly start with, we have to do it absolutely perfectly. And here's what perfect looks like. And here's what the rep cadence should be. And here's what the total volume should be. And this is what the equipment should be. If we just started with, you have to resistance train, we are on the right track. And so could you get that person to understand that adding resistance training would be a really valuable adjunct to my business? It fits with what we're doing with physical therapy. It is going to be one of the most powerful, one of the most important things that a client, that a consumer can do for their long-term health, their fitness, all the other benefits, cognitive function, academic performance for, youth, on and on and on. So start with that and then say, if we did it in a way that's time efficient, would that be valuable to the customer? If we decided to do it in a way that was as safe as possible, does that fit our target market and is aligned with our physical therapy business? So you start to add a few other elements. So we're strength training first. Number two, let's just try to make it time efficient. Number three, let's try to eliminate anything that's not safe. And by the way, as we walk through just those three criteria, we're getting closer and closer to high intensity training, right? So that's how I would start. Do we have conviction around those? What are the principles that we're not going to stray from no matter what?
But
And the reason
go ahead. Yeah, no,
important
go ahead.
is whoever's running this high intensity training business within this physical therapy center, it might be tough to find someone that's equally as convicted as the founder, and if you're not doing the high intensity training, if you meet a 25-year-old who's passionate about exercise and they're passionate about high intensity training and they run with it, well, maybe they leave after a few years and then you have to replace them. What are the chances that you're going to find someone that has that exact same passion? And so you have to say, what are our non-negotiables around how we're going to deliver the strength training? Because even in high intensity training, there's so many variations. High intensity training to Ken Leisner means you're putting a barbell on your back and you're doing 20 rep or 50 rep squats. And that's about as brutal as it gets. That is pure high intensity training from one of the founding fathers of high intensity training. Well, high intensity training to me means you don't ever do a barbell squat because we're not going to vertically compress the spinal column. So you got to get on the same page on what's high intensity training look like for you.
Yeah. Okay. This is really good start. So a couple of things. As you were talking there, I was sort of realizing, hang on, and this is what I've seen, like a lot of physiotherapists their businesses will just basically transform into hit businesses for the most part. I mean, we know colleagues who have basically done that. And are you basically saying that, as a physiotherapist, perhaps becomes even more familiar with the scientific literature that their current physical therapy practice might be a very, very small part of what they do, and HIIT is basically, responsible for the majority of value, and they make that sort of transition. They're almost completely reposition themselves.
Yeah, I don't know if they would do that. What I'm picturing is a little bit bigger of a physical therapy clinic that has 400 square feet available. And they want to say, hey, this is an additional business, an additional program, maybe even branded differently, maybe even leased out to somebody else to run it. So let's say we have, maybe it's a 2,000 or 4,000 square foot physical therapy office. And then the high intensity training practitioner says, you have this 400 square feet. I can take on the 400 square feet. And that's regardless if it's outsourced and it's a different business or it's the same business, whoever's running it just has to be clear on what are we going to, what are the parameters around high intensity training? What will we allow or not allow? And so the first parameter is it's got to be strength training, right? The second parameter is let's try to make it time efficient. The third parameter is let's make it safe. So another great example, I saw Fred Hahn put on social media recently that someone should never ever do a walking lunge exercise. It's just a horrible lower body exercise. And then other people I respect agreed with them, like Roger Schwab said, "Hey, perfectly stated." Okay. So to me, a walking lunge is one of the best lower body multi-joint leg movements you can do. Outside of a leg press, it is going to be my go-to. So I love it. So, well, what if Roger Schwab had a physical therapy clinic and he wanted me to run the high intensity training business and I did that? Would that be allowed or not? So that's a really nuanced example, but we just got to get on the same page on what's allowed in there and what's not allowed in there, uh, in terms of our high intensity training. So that would be my starting point. And then what that allows is consistency for the customer over the long haul, consistency for that revenue stream over the long haul. What's it going to look like? If some people listening to this right now think high intensity training is 6 exercises on medics machines. Well, what if you had some medics machines in there, but then you wanted to add some free weights and some plate loaded machines? And, is that high intensity training or not? To me, it 100% is. So just get clear on those parameters.
Today's episode is brought to you by Imagine Strength, your one-stop solution for safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training equipment. When it comes to high-intensity training, it's about the right workout machines intelligently designed for your studio. That's the specialty of Imagine Strength. Inspired by the legendary Arthur Jones, they've pioneered efficient and affordable fitness equipment perfectly crafted for your HIIT business. With a team that lives and breathes HIIT, Imagine Strength combines passion, innovation, and careful design into every piece of equipment, creating the perfect environment for an intense yet rewarding workout. So why choose Imagine Strength? Number one, they create innovative, tailor-made equipment for HIIT studios. Number two, they provide cost-efficient designs, making HIIT more accessible. And number three, they're committed to continuous innovation and refinement so your studio never falls behind. Elevate your HIIT business with a team at Imagine Strength. Visit imaginestrength.com to discuss your needs and select the gear that'll take your business to new heights. Be a part of the HIIT revolution with Imagine Strength and see how their equipment can transform your workout experience. Right, so clear on the way, so to speak. Help me understand this, Luke. So I'm hearing everything you're saying, but I still feel some conflict. I feel like, and maybe this is the exception to the rule is what we're talking about, but if you really believe in the idea of core focus and strategic niche, which maybe we should define that. Do you mind just defining that firstly for before we get into the conflict there potentially for the audience?
Strategic niche is just another way of saying, what is your core business? Okay. How will you make money? 95% of your revenue should land within that core business. Okay. Strategic niche is the sandbox that you're playing in. So when you daydream about what your revenue could be, I'd love to have a revenue of $300,000 a year from this business, $1 million a year, $1 billion a year. It should all come within that narrowly defined strategic niche, that sandbox. And you got to be not distracted to get outside of that sandbox. Mm-hmm. And so, for Discover Strength, it's personalized strength training. So we'll do anything that's personalized strength training, which is why we'll do virtual workouts. I'll also do workouts in the studio. I love marathon running and I'm pretty experienced in marathon running. I read all the literature on marathon running. I listen to 10 marathon running podcasts per week. But if someone says, Luke, I'd love it if you and Discover Strength would start creating marathon training plans, like what we should actually be doing in terms of our running, we'll say no to that, 10 times out of 10, because it's outside of the strategic niche. So yeah, I'm a big advocate of strategic niche. I'm going to say that we're going to totally violate that here and look at this as maybe not violate it, look at it as a separate business. So I have a physical therapy clinic. Can I have a separate business inside the physical therapy clinic of high intensity strength training? There's synergies among those businesses. Yes.
So just two things I just want to say quickly. It's just to clarify, if you have a marathoner who's strength training with you, you're still going to tailor a strength training program around someone's marathon. That's different, right? I don't want people listening thinking, what, they don't strength train marathon runners? Like, no. So no, I hear what you're saying. So, okay. So you are, if someone has, some space in their facility where they want to start a HIIT business, it kind of sounds like you're saying, if you're going to make it if you're going to make it part of your business, probably not a good idea. But if you're going to just lease that space to another business, then they're entirely separate entity, then that could work.
Yeah. And separate entity means it literally is a separate entity, or you could just have it be a separate program within the same entity, and it's branded differently. And it's, hey, over here is physical therapy, physiotherapy. Over here is strength training, and they're separate. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of that.
Okay, interesting. Because I know some people that do that. As one person in mind who I won't mention him, but he knows probably knows who I'm thinking of him. Um, how come that's not violating, or maybe it is violating strategic niche? Is that a big problem?
Yeah, it's definitely violating strategic niche in terms of if you own all of it, your entrepreneurial mental bandwidth is now spread across daydreaming about two different things. Like I have the benefit of I get to daydream about one thing only, and that's personalized strength training. Now, you could argue that I'm now daydreaming about two things because I daydream about our franchise and I daydream about our corporate locations, but they do the same thing. Now, you could say that I'm daydreaming about how do we sell and support franchises, and I'm not just daydreaming about our own studios. But overall, I get to daydream just about one thing. And when I say daydream, I mean when I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking about a problem. It's all about the same thing. I'm going to go on a long run tomorrow. I'm going to daydream on that long run about the same thing. And as soon as the entrepreneur is daydreaming about other things, well, then you don't have an entrepreneur, you don't have a leader that's focused or daydreaming about ideating around the main thing. So now, can you do this? Yes. You're just never going to be as strong in a given category. You can still be wildly successful doing this. A great example of that is Joe Cirilli. Joe Cirilli is almost the inverse of this. He has a massive health club. Well, in addition, in that health club, he has a full physical therapy center. It is the health club is Gainesville Health and Fitness, and then the physical therapy center is Request Physical Therapy. Is the branded name of it. It's a separate entrance to that physical therapy center. But let me tell you, there are synergies between a physical therapy clinic and the full on health club over here. He owns both of them. Okay. It's this, but it's a different brand. Now, Joe, when he's daydreaming about things, he's got more to daydream about, right? So you could say his entrepreneurial bandwidth is spread, but Joe also has enough leaders in the organization where he's got people that are just daydreaming about the physical therapy center.
But the other problem is the category in the consumer's mind, right? It's like, what are you known for? Which I think you might have touched on when you were defining it. But it's like, as a health club, like you've said to me before, they're going to be, correct me if I get this wrong, but they are going to be interpreted as being mediocre at many things versus if you just do strength training, it's far more easier to be, to consume that bucket in the consumer's mind that you are great at X, you are great at strength training, you just do nutrition coaching, you're great at nutrition coaching, right? It's when we do many things, we're no longer occupy the space in the consumer's mind in that way. Is that accurate?
Yep, 100%. And here's the best example of it. Joe's health clubs are absolutely beautiful. He's got 1 million Medix machines. And in the old days, he had 1 million Nautilus machines, original Nautilus machines. He's got every X-Force machine. He's got, a bazillion treadmills and basketball courts and
Sounds amazing.
swimming pools and personal training center and the whole X-Force studio, which is a separate product. And he's got yoga classes and boxing classes and spin classes and you name it. He's got all of it. Okay. And like I said, the separate physical therapy clinic, and he's got an actual recovery center where you just go in and use these different recovery modalities. He's got beautiful locker rooms. He's got all of it. And let me tell you, if you want a great strength training workout, you can go there and you can go through the Medix main line and a floor instructor will take you through a workout. You can be a part of his X-Force program and go through an unbelievable X-Force workout. You could hire a personal trainer and actually train and do strength training with a personal trainer. All right. So they know how to do strength training as good as anybody on earth. However, and this is not an arrogant statement, this is just the idea of strategic niche. If Discover Strength opened up a location, okay, 1 block away from him, or if the perfect workout opened up a location 1 block away from him, or the exercise coach, I'm just using other brands besides
Sure.
Discover Strength, opened up 1 block away from them, they would kick butt. Okay. They would absolutely gain market share. And you think, well, why would anybody go to one of those studios to strength train when Joe offers it all? It's because in the consumer's mind, Joe's not really known for strength training. Joe's known for having the biggest, most beautiful club, right? And so they will absolutely, any of those brands that have a strategic niche of just focusing on strength training and time efficient strength training will definitely build successful businesses, despite the fact that the guy that really popularized high intensity training in a commercial way is right there. So that's the power of strategic niche.
Fascinating.
You have that niche, And if you stay within that niche, you're gonna be able to compete with anybody. You know, and I look at like in my own market, I got the biggest health club in the world in my backyard. I mean, almost a $2 billion company, Lifetime Fitness, and they have more clubs in Minnesota than any other market on earth. And we're able to, absolutely carve them up from a personal training standpoint because that's all we do. We just do strength training.
This is why I just talk about high intensity training, Luke.
Yeah.
um, Fascinating. No, this is so interesting. So, do you typically? I mean, you obviously stay on top of the industry data, the trends and statistics. And before you've mentioned, you've given examples like look at Apple, look how tight and focused their products set is. Look at McDonald's, like they're so focused on what they're doing. And then you talked about different brands in fitness, Orange Theory. There's a couple others as well that are not coming to mind right now. F45, where they have this core focus, and as a result of that, they're the fastest growing. I'm just curious, looking at it, August 2023, does the data still support that? That is the way it goes. Like those that are the most focused still just grow the fastest and gain the most market share.
So my first answer is yes, but there's other mistakes that you could make that would interfere with that growth. Like
I see.
F45 is having a lot of problems right now, and there's definitely other fitness brands that have focus that have, come across other problems and other issues that all businesses struggle with. But I definitely think that having that focus is foundationally important, absolutely. And the businesses that don't have that focus, if you want to know what they're talking about in their conference rooms right now, as executive teams, they're talking about how do we battle these businesses that have focus, right? How do we combat them because we're losing market share to them?
How stressful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then that's happening at the $2 billion companies that I just mentioned. And so how do we stay relevant when we do yoga and we do Pilates and we do personal training and we do spin class, okay, and basketball, but individual businesses are focused just on each one of those. There's basketball academies alone, there's Pilates studios alone, there's yoga studios alone that are carving us up. And how do we stay relevant when people are doing it and that's all they're doing, and therefore they're being perceived as, well, they must be really good at it.
Yeah, it's like from my perspective, it's like, to what you're saying, it's I'm a big fan of simplicity in everything I do, and conserving that entrepreneurial RAM, but also giving you that brand advantage. It's like, why wouldn't you just be incredibly focused? That's just, I guess, my opinion. Um, there's another thing as well, which is, if we use a slightly different example, because physiotherapy, maybe not the best example, I think, actually, because, high intensity training, it could almost be the therapy for the most part, right?
Yeah,
But
that's
when I,
why this is a
yes,
controversial
yeah,
topic. And I know you probably have listeners and colleagues and friends who are physical therapists who do a ton of resistance training as a part of their physical therapy. And I
sure.
love that. I think that's a great way to approach the consumer. We're just pretending it's a separate, kind of offering within a larger physical therapy clinic.
Yeah, I just think of all the new physiotherapists that have tuned in that are pulling their hair out listening to me, thinking that I'm incredibly ignorant and naive, but that's fine. But there's a better example that's maybe a little bit more removed, would be like a physician. I have had contact by physicians who, they're just seeing patients all day and diagnosing illnesses and providing prescriptions who, again, develop a passion for HIIT and want to spin up a high intensity training business on their property or in their business. Now, this really violates strategic niche because they should potentially just be focused on generating revenue through seeing patients and going through that process and growing that business, as opposed to adding the distraction of a hit business in spite of their passion for it, and just not a very smart business decision necessarily.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts
What
on
a
that?
great. So let
Yeah.
me give you two examples that are speak directly to that. So we had a decent sized group of physicians that focus in one specialty, and they have a large, clinic, a ton of different physicians, surgeons, et cetera. And they said, "Hey, we want to sublease a space to you and open up a Discover Strength right here in our larger office." Now, that would be a complete sublease. It would be a Discover Strength offering in their building. Now, why do they want to do that? Because they want to generate revenue on that square footage, right? And then number two, our target market is very similar to their target market. So our customers could come see them. their patients could come see us. So there's some synergies there. That's a macro example of what we're talking about. Now, we ultimately decided not to do it, but it was basically because we didn't love the real estate. We just didn't think it was the right, the right real estate. But that is a macro example of what we're talking about, where it's pretty formal. It's a sublease. There's walls. I mean, it's not just, hey, 400, feet in the corner. Now, another example is I just had a coffee on Friday with a physician who is a neurologist with a focus in psychiatry. I mean, this person is as well known of a psychiatrist as there is, anywhere in the world. And this individual wants to start a private practice, and they're very much into a holistic approach to medicine. They don't want to just see you for 20 minutes, prescribe a drug, and move on. They want it to be lifestyle medicine. And they said, well, I could refer and have, people interacting with nutrition and dietetics, and someone on stress management, and someone else on strength training like you do, and someone else. And I said, whoa, 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 do not do that. Okay. Do not do that, because you're getting away from strategic niche. You need to be known as this incredible psychiatrist. And maybe you have a focus on the type of psychiatry that you do. You can be niched within psychiatry, but you can't do all things wellness. No one's going to care. You have this incredible background as a psychiatrist, go all in on that. And if you think a patient needs a referral to one of these other resources, have some great referrals and make that referral, but don't have that be a part of your business. As soon as this individual in our meeting said, and then I'll have a portal where they can do all these different things, I thought, nope. And it's interesting, because what's best for the patient is not really what's best for our business, right?
That's
It
so
may
hard.
be like,
That's it right there.
of course, it may be that the
Yeah.
patient needs all of those things, but you're going to ruin your business trying to deliver all of those things to the patient. Now, I think just referring out is the best way to do it. Just having a statement of conviction around how these things are important is what the patient needs to hear. A patient just needs to hear their physician who they trust saying, hey, and in addition to all this, you need to be resistance training twice a week. And here's the reasons why. As a psychiatrist, I'm telling you, here's why you need to do it, from a cognitive function to a mental health to a acute improvements in your actual mood. This is what you need to be doing. Here's two resources of how you could do it.
Yeah. So their value is that expertise, that consultation, that guidance, isn't it? That is their business.
Yeah. Now, the
Yeah.
problem is they can't really monetize that. And I think that physician is thinking, well, I want to give I want to help my patient with it, and I'd love to monetize it also. I don't know how you monetize it. And that's beyond the scope of this discussion, but maybe there's a revenue share to whoever's actually getting the referral.
I mean, this is also connected to the age old, I want to add nutrition to my fitness business. I mean, lots of our colleagues do that and have some success doing it and generate revenue doing it. That's great. And it's so tempting. It's because what we're saying is so counterintuitive, because it comes from a place where you want to help people. You see, people who are just not losing body fat and they've been strength training for years. Like, God, this client needs to really dial in their diet, but it could, like you say, impair your business growth. But what I'm hearing here is just like, you know what? Fine, do nutrition as well. Add fill in the blank service, but realize that it is probably not as efficient and as effective as just focusing on one thing. And that's just something
Yeah.
you accept.
And if I was going to do nutrition and that was going to be a part of my one thing, then I think my strategic niche wouldn't be strength training. My strategic niche would be body composition, right? Like body composition
Interesting.
improvement. And then I would have the freedom to do strength training and nutrition. We Discover Strength, that's definitely not our focus. Our focus is not body composition improvement. Like, are we going to improve someone's body composition? Yes. That is not our strategic niche.
Yeah. I know it's personalized strength training, but maybe this is obvious, but if body composition is like an outcome, what would be the strategic niche outcomes? I'm just inventing this. And for Discover Strength, would it just be like increasing strength? That's like number one. Or is there other things?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just increasing strength. It's, did I have a great strength training workout, right? I mean, is my strength training workout awesome? Because then we're going to enhance strength, hypertrophy, bone mineral density, cognitive function, cardiovascular health outcomes, on and on and on and on. And, the good news, this is my opinion, it's not a week that goes by that a paper that doesn't come out, or there's not a paper that comes out that says, hey, here's an incredible benefit of resistance training. I mean, the paper just came out 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, on strength training and skin health, that like our aging process of our dermal layer of our skin slows down when we strength train. Well, my goodness, I'm so glad that my strategic niche is strength training, because now we can say, hey, this is another reason why you should do it. And if my real focus was body composition change, I probably couldn't share that, hey, it improves your skin. People are like, well, I'm not here to improve my skin. I'm here to change my body composition. For us, people are here to strength train. So we can constantly tout all those benefits of strength training. The good news is there seems to be a new benefit every single week.
I actually love that idea about the body composition niche. You said that. I think that makes a lot of sense. And that skin improvement thing you just shared there is interesting because I've always been telling my missus that strength training improves the skin, and she spends a fortune on skincare products from Boots. Do you have a Boots in the States? Is that just a brand over here?
Not,
No.
not that I know of. I
Okay.
mean, the skincare
Yeah.
is a huge industry.
Yeah, well, I'm terrible with my own skincare, and I know I probably should do something, but I just I'm lazy, and I just say, well, look, I know strength training improves skin health, so there you go. Anyway, so look, Luke, this has been really awesome as always. I'm just thinking, if there's anything kind of left out. We'd love it if you've got. Is there any further thoughts that you want to share? Again, we're really keep in mind that we're trying to speak to those business owners who are outside of HIT who want to throw in or add it as an adjunct. Is there any other thoughts you've got that you want to share? And then maybe
Yes.
after you've shared that thought, I'd love to hear just a quick, if you don't mind, like checklist that one should go through, maybe the questions you think they should ask before they make any kind of
Yep. So if I added it as
thing.
an adjunct, the first thing I would say, like we started off with, is what are the parameters around how we're going to deliver the high intensity training? Okay. Number two is going to be, how are we going to uh, actually bill people? What are we going to charge? What's that look like? Is it sessions? Is it packages? Is it auto pay? What's the price point going to be? And are we trying to combine the offering with whatever our other core offering is? Is it like, hey, if you're a physical therapy patient, you also get this step down strength training program for this dollar amount? Or are we looking at it as something totally separate? The third thing I would think about is, how are we going to try to create synergies between the businesses? How are we going to try to refer to that business? Is that they're simply renting space, and then it's hopeful that we have a lot of target market customers that are overlapping? Or is there a formal process where we're actually making a recommendation? And if you're in physical therapy, you could say, hey, every patient, when they're done with the acute physical therapy, there's a recommendation made that they start a strength training program. Is it, hey, it's a nutrition business, but you have some high intensity training going on? Is there a formal recommendation that we think you should try, the high intensity training? So I would just think about, how are we actually trying to connect those revenue streams as much as possible? That would kind of be my third framework or question. And then the fourth one would be, who's providing the actual direction or leadership for that new high intensity training business? Is it you as kind of the entrepreneur, the founder, the leader, or are you outsourcing it to somebody else and you want them to really be the thought leader around that new business?
Okay, and I'm going to be annoying now. That's great. But just to be clear, you're still saying all this with the assumption that this probably isn't the optimal way to grow a business. But if you are intending to do this and I cannot talk you out of it, here's how I would do it. Is that fair for me to say?
Yeah, 100%. And I
Okay.
think, my mind always goes to, well, how big do you want the business to be? And I think
Mm.
these principles apply if you want a small business, and we use the term lifestyle business, or if you want a bigger business. But if you didn't want to really grow, but you wanted to maximize some revenue, I think this is probably the best option. Let's say you already have a core business, you have a physical therapy, offering, whatever it is. Could you easily add 100 to $400,000 in revenue of high intensity training per year, as an adjunct? Yes, you could. Now, if you wanted to really grow it and do $1 million or do a few $1 million, I don't think you should do that, because I think you got to really commit to strategic niche then. But if you say, hey, we already have this space, I own the building, I'm in a long-term lease, I can chip away at revenue in these 400 square feet, I think it would really work.
What a great statement to end on. That was that really nice uh, bow on the what am I trying to say? It was nice ending. No, it just made a lot of sense to me. Helped me clarify everything what you're saying. Um, Luke, thanks so much as always for doing this. And best way for people to find you is discoverstrength.com, discoverstrengthfranchise.com, Luke Carlson on Instagram, or is it What's the exact handle?
Wow. Luke Carlson 3070, I think, on
Okay,
Instagram.
great.
And you can email me as well, Luke at Discover Strength.
Yeah, and we'll link all that from the show notes. And last thing, before you head off, grab your free PDF guide on how to turn your hit business into a referral machine. This is something that I actually put together with Luke. It's a short and simple step-by-step guide on how to get more referrals immediately. And there's also a full-length video training with Luke on that as well. So go to highintensitybusiness.com/ref. There's REF short for referrals to download that now. So that's highintensitybusiness.com/ref. And lastly, to get the show notes for this episode, please go to highintensitybusiness.com, search for episode 428. And until next time, thank you very much for listening. This episode is brought to you by Imagine Strength, your go-to for safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training equipment. Growing a successful high-intensity training business requires workout equipment that's not only high quality, but also intelligently designed to fit the unique needs of your studio. And that's where Imagine Strength comes in. Drawing on the wisdom of the legendary Arthur Jones, Imagine Strength has crafted a groundbreaking line of fitness equipment that's as affordable as it is efficient, giving your studio the upgrade it needs without breaking the bank. The team at Imagine Strength breathes HIIT. Their passion for high-intensity training shines through in their designs, which they've consistently refined and innovated for optimum effectiveness and user experience. From my personal experience at Rec, I can attest to the careful consideration and craftsmanship that goes into every single piece. My Imagine Strength workout was absolutely brutal, in a good way, of course. Now, what makes Imagine Strength truly stand out? They have innovative equipment tailored for the unique needs of HIIT studios, affordable and efficient designs, lowering the barriers to entry for a HIIT business, continuous innovation and refinement ensuring your studio stays ahead of the curve. Founder Jeff Turner and his team are dedicated to moving the HIIT industry forward and making strength training accessible to more people than ever before. Here's how you get started. Number 1, visit imaginestrength.com. Number 2, discuss your specific needs with the team. And number 3, select the equipment that will propel your business to the next level. Head to imaginestrength.com today and give your HIIT business the Imagine Strength edge. Be part of the HIIT revolution and see firsthand how their unique equipment can transform your studio's workout experience. Elevate your HIIT business with Imagine Strength. Before we sign off, a reminder about our sponsor, Joint Friendly Fitness by Bill Simone. Bill's commitment to crafting this invaluable guide has not gone unnoticed. At Optima Strength, it's become an important reference guide for workout design, and on a personal level, it's reshaped my workouts, focusing on both safety and results. For those navigating the challenges of training-related discomfort, injuries, or concerns about joint well-being, this book is a beacon. Bill's fusion of first-hand insights and biomechanics knowledge has given rise to the joint-friendly fitness methodology. John Little, a respected figure in the fitness realm, emphasizes that Bill's books are a mandatory part of their exercise education, highlighting joint-friendly fitness as Bill's crowning achievement in the world of exercise science. Similarly, Simon Shawcross, co-founder and director of HitUni.com, labels it a must-read, especially for those keen on strengthening muscles whilst minimizing injury risks. In a world filled with convoluted fitness literature, joint-friendly fitness stands out. It's not just enlightening, but also practical, categorizing exercises by their safety quotient. With a 5-star joint-friendly ratings system, you're equipped with a comprehensive exercise arsenal. Boost your fitness journey and fitness business with joint-friendly fitness, available on Amazon worldwide, and elevate your workouts. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.